look at the pieces of the Faded Elegance Mega Junk Journal Kit. I'm very excited about this kit. I've never been a huge fan of baby blue and light pink together, but this has changed my whole perspective. As you can see, the pink, or some of them are dahlias, some of them are peonies, roses. All of that pink on the background, with the background of this blue damask, I just think is absolutely yummy and elegant. So I'm now a fan of pink and blue together, where I haven't been before. I have printed everything, cut everything out. I haven't scored anything or inked anything yet. And I do still have some cutting out to do on the stamps and some of the torn pieces. So I thought I would show you. I've showed you in other videos, but I thought I would work with those just a little bit in a second. Here's my cover. I'm actually going to do the binding a little bit different than I have in the past. So when I get ready to put it together, I'll come back in and I'll show you what I'm going to do with the binding on this one. These are 2 extra pieces that I printed to use as fold outs. These are printed one-sided and folded, and they'll just be a fold out piece in the book, in the journal. And then they will go with, these are my single-sided, no, most of these are double-sided. This is, I've already put this together. This is one signature. I did print all this on cardstock. And there are a few pieces in here that are printed single-sided and then put in here blank side to blank side. And I will explain when I come back to show you how I'm going to bind it. I'll explain to you, show you why I did that. It's going to kind of create a unique feature in this. So there's going to be 2 signatures in this particular one. So I'm going to put this stuff to the side for just a second and show you, let's see if it'll go right there, show you the things I've gathered to go with this kit. I have gathered some vintage lace that is actually, it's dyed somehow. I don't know what it was dyed with. You can see it's very vintagey looking. Thought that looked pretty. I've got a little bit of chiffon to go on some of the tags. You may recognize this from a previous kit. I can't remember exactly which one I used it on. I can't remember, but I've used this on one before, but I really like it and it goes well. It's a little whimsical, so I may put some of that in there. I found this fabric scrap that I may use somehow. I don't know how, but got a tag, got some butterfly stickers, got a piece of old book page and an envelope, and a couple of lunch bags, just brown paper lunch bags, cheap brown paper lunch bags. I buy a packet at the Dollar Tree and just use them for various craft projects and things around the house. And these are 2 that I might use in this journal. These are 2 pieces of wax paper, printed wax paper. I don't know if you've ever gotten printed wax paper. Sometimes I use printed wax paper to wrap up a cupcake or some cookies that I've made as a gift. And I like to dress it up a little bit. So I have several different versions of this laying around in my craft and kitchen. I think this came from Temu maybe, but you can get it on Amazon or several different places you can get printed wax paper. And then the last thing I have is this piece of fabric that I might possibly use in some form or fashion. I don't know yet, since I'm going to do the binding a little different. I don't really need a fabric binding, but I just thought it kind of blended well with, I just thought it blended well, and it may end up in there somehow, and it may not. We'll see. So first of all, let's look at how we do. Let me get a piece of I always put down this parchment, nonstick parchment, just so I'm not making too much of a mess. So to get this torn paper look is very simple. This is just plain water, and I use this angled brush. I don't know if you can see that. See, it's very flat and it's angled. This is just what works best for me. I make sure to kind of keep it flat and straight, and just get a little bit of water on there, and then just kind of brush down along the edge of the design. And sometimes it takes more than one brush across. Sometimes you have to kind of go a couple of times, but I'll show you on the back, you can kind of know. Yeah, see, it hasn't quite soaked through yet, so we'll go across it one more time. You can kind of see see how the page, the paper starts kind of looking gray, or it just looks different. You can kind of tell it's weakening and thinning in that area. And then as you can kind of see, you'll start kind of feeling it on the back. And once you get enough water on there and let it soak in, you can tear this off, and now you have that torn paper look that you cannot get with scissors. And then so if you're going to ink it, when you ink it, you really get this worn look to it that I absolutely love. So I just kind of wanted to show you how you can do that. Of course, you can cut it if you'd rather, but I really like that torn look, and I will go around the other 3 sides like that, so it'll really end up looking like an old torn piece of paper. Then I wanted to show you how I do this. You can just go closer to it and use some pinking shears like this, and just have a smaller. I'm not going to do it because that's not how I'm going to do this one, but if I can find a scrap piece of paper that I always have laying around and can't seem to find right now. Let's see. Here we go. You could use that, and you just have to cut farther in than those white half circles, and that would make a nice stamp edge. It would still look kind of postage stampish. Or on these larger ones, the larger ones are fairly easy. The smaller ones can be a little harder. But just if you've got just a regular, this is I probably paid 99 cents for this, or maybe $2 at the most. I don't know where I got it. I've had it for so very long. This little piece doesn't even work anymore. I could just pull it off. Matter of fact, there we go. We'll just take it off. It doesn't work anymore. Little paper babies go everywhere, but that's okay. But you can literally just kind of stick it in there and cut it out like this, and it's very simple. It's not something you can rush through. If you rush through, I promise you will mess it up. But see, it doesn't matter if you get them all absolutely perfect, especially if you're going to ink it. If you're going to ink it, the ink's going to camouflage some of that stuff, which is one of the reasons that I use ink so much. It's going to camouflage some of your areas where it's not exactly perfect. And now you've got this wonderful antique or vintage looking stamp edge. So that's how I do these 2 types of pieces. Wanted to show you that. So I will work on putting together some of this kit, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to start the binding and show you how I'm going to do that, because I am going to do it just a little bit differently. It's going to have a little bit more of a book type binding this time. So we'll see you shortly. All right, here we are midpoint with the Faded Elegance journal kit, the mega kit, and I wanted to pop in. I think I owe you an apology. I think I told you earlier in the video that I would come back and show you the binding technique. I did not do that. I have already done the binding, but it was very difficult. And I'm going to walk you through why, and why I probably won't do it again in this way. I have already done the hole punching and inking and putting the ribbons and all on the tags and things. I have inked and prepped all the other ephemera, got it ready. But I haven't done anything to the inside of this. I haven't even put any of the fold outs in here because I was struggling with the binding. So what I plan to do, I wanted a square binding. I wanted it to be like a book on a shelf. So what I did was, and this is the first time I've tried this, I made a kind of a template. This is just 2 pieces of really sturdy cardboard glued together, cut to 1/4 of an inch. Sorry, no, this is a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch? Yeah, 1/2 inch. This is a 1/4 of an inch. I've got several of these. But what I was going to do was use this to fold my piece of paper, or fold my cover. So I'm trying to find a scrap bead. I'll just use it on here. So the theory was that I could put this down in the center of that cover where I wanted it to be bound, and just kind of score it like this on both sides. And that would give me a nice square fold. That worked. Since this is printed on cardstock, that worked very well. I had a nice crisp square fold. And then I was going to use the 3-hole method to attach 2 signatures. So in that small area, this wide, I needed 2 holes, 2 holes, and 2 holes. As you can see, even though I made a paper template, and the paper template is still in here because I screwed up and forgot to take it out. and you can see it. You can see the paper template through there. You can see it through there. You can see the end of it right there. I took a piece of cardstock, made it the size of the inside of my spine, and put marks where the holes needed to go. I wasn't too bad off in the middle. Somehow or another, I got a little off at the bottom and way off at the top. I don't know how that happened. And what I realized is that that's such a narrow place, such a narrow spine, to be sewing in 2 signatures, but I just couldn't see good enough down in there. Once I got the first one went in great. The first one is the back one, and it went in fine. When I started putting in the front one, I couldn't see what I was doing because the back signature was in the way. And so I really struggled with it. And what happened was I ended up with one of the signatures, and I don't know how this happened. I used my clips and everything trying to keep everything in place, but the back signature ended up being up probably about 1/8 of an inch from the front signature. So it was wonky job. I was able to fix that. How I fixed it was to come into this center place, because there was a lot of play right here. And so what I was able to do was come into the center place, line them up, just force them to line up. And then I put a piece of clear, I don't know if you can see the shininess, a piece of clear bookbinding tape down the center. I didn't want to cover up I don't really like the shininess. I'm probably going to go back and do something to the shininess. But I didn't want to cover up the design with the white tape, and the white tape is the only tape I have that is not shiny. So, but that fixed the problem of them being offset. So it's a much prettier composition from this way. The other thing that I didn't plan on is by having this piece, the cover and the internal pages are the same size. So by making this be a 1/2 inch fold, then without this lace, you can see the pages are longer than, if you can kind of tell, the pages are longer than the cover. So if I hadn't put this lace on here, you would be seeing the edges of the pages, the internal pages sticking out. So learned a lot from the process. I don't hate this look. I would like it to be a little bit more precise. I'm just not that good at working in small spaces like that. I never really have been, and I just didn't think about that when I decided that this is how I was going to do it. But again, I don't hate this look, and I very well may put something over this spine to kind of camouflage that so that nobody but me knows what I did. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know that I'm worried too much about it. I'm otherwise pleased with how this is going. I think I mentioned to you early on, this was one that I had printed some of the pages two-sided, some of the pages single-sided. And when I assembled the signatures, I had a couple pages in each signature that were single-sided, white side, blank side to blank side. So I would have a double-sided page, a single-sided page face up, single-sided page face down, and another. So why I did that was because I wanted these pockets. So I have several pockets. This is 2 pages glued together on the edges, and then there's a single page printed double-sided, and then another pocket, and then another regular page, a regular page, a regular page, another pocket, a regular page, and this is going to be a pocket. I just hadn't got to it yet. And then the back signature is the same way. So regular page. This one is a regular page. No, this is, I feel like this is, no, it's not. There's a pocket back here somewhere. There's one. There we go. There's a pocket. There's a regular page, another pocket, regular page, and then this is the one that I haven't sewn yet, or haven't glued yet. So there'll be a lot of pockets in it, and I will have some fold outs associated with those pockets. Don't know how exactly that's going to look yet, but overall I'm not upset or frustrated. I do like the square of the binding. I just don't like how uneven my stitches were, because I just couldn't figure out how to do that. There are other people out there in the bookbinding junk journal world that are so much more precise with things like this than I will ever be, mainly because I just, for some reason, I am clumsy when it comes to working in small spaces and small areas like that. And so if you want to learn a little bit more how to do that and how to do it better than I do it, by all means, please check out some of the more the people out there that are better at that. Natasha with Treasure Books is one of those people. I know I talk about her all the time, but she really does a good job with things like this. So I will come back in a little bit with the inside finished and a closure of some sort. I haven't decided what that closure looks like just yet. I was going to put some sort of magnetic closure on it, but that was before I realized I had to put the lace on there. I don't know that that's going to work on this one, but it may. We'll see. But we'll be back. I am so excited to show you the finished product for the Faded Elegance. I did have some scraps of this yummy fabric left over, and quite a few scraps of the other fabric and the patterned wax paper. And I think that might have been it. Some lace and string. Nothing major, just some scraps from some of the things that I added to the kit. So those will stay in my envelope. But this is the finished product. And if you'll recall, earlier in the video we looked at the way I did the binding and I wasn't real pleased with it. But I'm more pleased with it now that the product is finished. And I do think it's pretty. I haven't decided if I'm going to cover up the uneven seams on the binding yet. I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. We'll see. But for now, we're going to call it finished. I used a scrap of that yummy fabric that we looked at as the tie. Just cut a strip of it, and that's what holds it together. I didn't want to put any type of permanent closure on this yet until I decide if I'm going to cover up the spine. But I really don't think I will, because it doesn't bother me too bad. You'll remember we put lace down the side. This lace was put in between the cover and the back side of the first signature, so you can't see the bottom edge of it. It's hidden in between those two pages. Here we've got one thing that I did go back and add to this one that we didn't talk about earlier in the video is I had a bunch of these Bible verses laying around. If you'll see, I don't even remember doing this, but I guess I printed these at some point one day and cut them apart, and they've just been kind of laying on my work table, and I keep moving them and thinking, gosh, what am I going to do with that? So I decided, since they were kind of, they're more aqua than blue, but they kind of blend okay, so I cut some of them out and peppered them throughout this project, and I really like the faith flavor that it added. So here's a pocket for a bookmark that's made out of that printed wax paper that I had. Here's a tuck spot that has the large Polaroid that came with the ephemera kit. Another Bible verse. This is another tuck spot made with the wax paper with some of the cards that came in the ephemera kit. Here's a fold out. Another Bible verse, little collage with some lace and fabric scraps. You guys know I love it when they pieces of the collages kind of are interactive and stick up and add some texture to it. Another Bible verse. Another little tuck spot with some one of the envelopes and one of the tags that came with the ephemera kit. This came with the kit. The belly band came with the kit. This is the folio. This is one of the traditional folios. It does have, I used lunch bags for the paper pages. Here's a little tuck spot that you can put something in. Here's a little tuck spot that you can put something in. And for now it lives, now it lives right here in the belly band. Just tied a piece of that scrap fabric as I was working with it. I ended up with this little scrap piece that had the selvage on it, and I really didn't want to throw it away, so I just tied it in a bow and glued it on this page. I thought it looked kind of cute like that. Here we have the envelope where I made a fold out with the envelope. Got one of the envelopes that came with the ephemera kit inside there. Did a little collage on the outside and added one of the Bible verses to it. It's got a little bit of a collage here with some of the fabric. I left some ends loose and purposely frayed some of it, and I'm still fraying some of it because I like a frayed fabric look. Purposely let one of the postage stamps kind of stick off the side of the page. I just like to have things stick out a little bit. This is another one of the pages that I glued. If you'll recall, I printed some of the pages single-sided, and where they went together, I just glued the edges, and that created these large tuck spots. So this one has one of the tags that came in the ephemera kit. Here's the journal. I used one of the journal cards as a pocket and trimmed it up with some washi tape, and then a couple of the journal cards go in that little pocket. If you'll recall, this was that centerpiece that was not acting right because of the way I did the binding. I did decide not to worry about the shiny tape here. It seems very sturdy, and it's holding up very well even as many times as I've handled it, so I'm not going to worry about that. Another tuck spot, another Bible verse, another little small collage. This one has some journal cards in it as well. These also came with the ephemera kit, the mega kit. More cards in another little envelope, or another little tuck spot. Little, you may have heard me say this before. I really like to glue a tag to the page and leave the string loose. I just love that. I just think it adds texture and whimsy, and I just love doing that. Another fold out, another Bible verse that I stuck in there. Got one of the large postage stamps here. The fold out is just done. I do mine with masking tape. I just like that look. And it works really well. You could even fold it back the other way if you wanted to. Here is another tuck spot with some more pieces from the ephemera kit. More journal cards and another tuck spot. There's the center of one of our back signature. Another Bible verse here. Another large tuck spot here. Another journal card stuck in there. And this is a pen holder or pencil holder. And it is literally just a piece about that long of this elastic that has a ruffle on it. I think I've shown you in a couple other videos. I use it for a lot of things, but just a small piece folded over and glued tightly underneath a piece of the ephemera makes a nice little pen loop. This is actually a pencil, I think, but I had this laying around that has this crown on it. Oops, knocked my lady over. And it just fit nicely. So this is actually narrower than a regular pen. Let's see if I have a regular pen somewhere. I don't know if I do or not, but it might work better with a regular one. There we go. All right, so that's a nice little addition you can add to your journals. Here's another little tuck spot that I made with a piece of the ephemera. Back over. And one of the tags stuck in there, another fold out. This is a pocket that I made with a piece of the fabric that I had out there. And then this is a piece of the ephemera that I just put some lace on. I just folded up the lace and stapled it on there. Now there's a little tag sticking in there. And I very rarely leave a page without tying in all the colors. So normally I would have put something pink on this page to make it blend in with the pink that's on the rest of the book. But I didn't this time because I'm trying to get used to having areas where maybe the color scheme doesn't quite carry completely through. And I kind of like it. And then there we have our back cover. So I'm going to take this one out because this one looks prettier. So there we have kind of our finished Faded Elegance Junk Journal Mega Kit assembled. And I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. I hope that you enjoyed seeing it. If you have purchased your own, I hope you enjoy creating your own. And we will see you next time.